Hey everybody, Mike Toy Bonsai Boise. So I've got a couple of Ficus Benjaminas that I've been styling as Cascade style bonsais. This video will be about one of the two. That one specifically. And then I'll do a different video on the other one. But I'll show you how it started and kind of how I've gone about the styling and some of the challenges of these. They're kind of easy and they're kind of not. So going back to November of last year, 2024, this is how it looked. I've actually had this for probably 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years. It just started as a cutting and I just stuck it in that little plastic thing. And over time, it just turned into this. So around this time, I started getting the idea to do it as a cascade style. I think I've always kicked it around, but I finally committed to it. So I trim it up, and I'm trying to trim it with the idea that it's going to be a cascade style. In hindsight, I should have just wired it down first and then trimmed it. That's kind of what I envision it looking like, eventually, with a lot of time. See how it kind of blows down and then has like pads on it? Kind of like that, roughly. It's got a little ways to go, of course. Right now, I'm just looking for branches that are crisscrossing and growing straight up or growing backwards, back toward the trunk. I want it to just gently flow outward, like a waterfall, like a cascading waterfall. It flows out. It flows down and then out into pads and then down and then out into more pads, that kind of thing. So I trim it down. About this moment, I realized I should have wired it first and then trimmed it, but that's okay. Better late than never. I stick the wire down into the soil, wrap it around. And I just get this wire on Amazon. I don't have any one particular source even. Anytime I need it, I just go on Amazon and find some and buy it. So I wrapped it fairly tight coil, not super tight, but tight enough to give it some movement, kind of like that. So it kind of goes up and over and then starts to go down, which is different from that other one that I'll do the video on next week. Kind of like that. These cascades, one of the challenges is just finding a good front for it. Because of the fact that it's cascading, it covers the trunk. And typically when you're looking for a front on your bonsai tree, you want the front that sort of showcases the trunk a little bit. But in the cascade, all the branches and leaves hide the trunk. So it almost looks better from a side or even the back, like this. I don't think it'll always be like that, because with time, you'll be able to see it better because most of those branches will be lower. Fast forward a couple of months, and at first I was kicking around this pot here, since it's roughly the same size that it's been in anyway. The downside is that pot doesn't have any drainage holes, so I would have to drill holes in it, which isn't a huge deal, but just a thing. But first, I trim it up. I just kind of set it in that pot for now just to get a rough idea of how it looks. Trimming these is more challenging than trimming let's say a traditional upright bonsai. Traditional upright bonsai, you get a pretty good idea of how it's flowing. It flows upwards. Branches and leaves always want to grow upwards toward the sun. This one You want it to flow outward and down. So the branches down, the leaves kind of outward a little bit, roughly speaking. And it's sort of hard to predict how it's going to react. Whereas a traditional upright, trim it, you kind of know what way it's going to go for the most part. Sometimes they do goofy stuff. But this, you don't know. Because you're training it to grow down and outward, then you trim it. It's going to want to go up again. It might go left into the up. It might go right to the up. It might go backwards. You just don't know. So I would say there's more, there's more trimming involved, really, because it kind of goes in ways you don't want it to go more often. Fast forward a couple more months into March. It's all grown out again. And now I've got a better pot picked out. This is more appropriate for a Cascade style because taller, gives it room. The shorter pots are hard with Cascade. You pretty much have to set it on the edge of something so that it can flow down without, growing into the table that it's on. So you want a taller pot, which also means you don't need to train the roots the way you would in a traditional bonsai pot. Traditional bonsai pots are shallow, so you don't want the roots to grow down. You want them to grow outward in a radial type pattern. I'll sort of speed through the trimming on this one just to get to the point of how it looks. Kind of like that. I still have to make some decisions on those branches. This is wintertime growth, so it's kind of leggy and long internodes in between the leaves. And it looks like the wires have now cut into the bark. Didn't take long at all. So I got the wire off, and sure enough, we've got some wiring scars. Not the end of the world. In some cases, I think they actually give character to it, but with time, not right off the bat. Right off the bat, they're very contrast and blunt looking and obvious. But with time, it sort of smooths over and it just gives it a little bit of a gentle scarring look. So for whatever reason, the soil is gross and this thing's kind of green. I don't know how that happened, but it did. It's wedged in there pretty good too. All I really want to do here is just clean off the gross stuff. Which, for the record, it almost never works. Anytime I clean off the gross soil, little spores and whatever that stuff is, algae or moss or whatever, it just grows back. So unless you completely bare root it, it probably is just going to grow back. And that's fine. I can live with it for now. But I keep the root ball mostly intact, as you can see. Add a little more soil. It's just my normal soil mix. Perlite, pine bark, pumice, volcanic rock. I just got to figure out a position. So I want that trunk line to come out at the diagonal. I guess, how do I say this? Toward one of the corners of the pot, or, little subtle decisions. Put a few balancing rocks on there just to hold it down. I kind of have an advantage. I have a grow tent that I keep these in. If you've seen any of my other videos, that's where I keep all the tropicals during the winter months. And it's perfect conditions. It's warm, it's humid, it's bright, it's not windy, there's no storms that are going to come and knock it over. So it's a good place to recover after this. Do just a little more light trimming just to get rid of some of that long leggy growth. As soon as late spring and summer hits, that growth will get a lot more full and bright and compact. But this is where I leave it on this particular day. Got it all potted up and I'm pretty happy with it. I kind of like how it's going. Got a lot of good movement. It definitely has a ways to go still, but it'll get there. It's got some room to grow in that pot. Eventually, I'm going to have to do some wiring. I'm not going to do it right now because those branches are pretty thin and, it's kind of fragile in that pot since I just repotted it. I'd goof it all up if I tried to wire it now. But I would say by midsummer, it's going to be time to start wiring it. Here it is the following month in April. Seems to be recovering just fine. I'll keep those rocks in there a little while longer, probably till midsummer or so. I think the roots will be established by then. And then here it is the following month in May, late May. It's doing really good. It's outside now. It's on the bench, getting full sun, loving life. I'm going to stay on top of the trimming though, at least for branches that are growing in the wrong direction, because I don't want it to start going the wrong way and have to make big corrections later. So I'm going to look for branches like that growing straight up or backwards or crisscrossing. I want it to all flow outward, down and out, down and out. But at the same time, even though I'm staying on top of it, I'm not going to be super strict about the look or the structure. I have a general idea of how I want it to look, but I'm going to just kind of let the tree do its thing. I'm going to guide it in the right direction, and then I'll just work with whatever it does from there. Kind of sounds like I'm contradicting myself now that I say it out loud, because on one hand, I am being strict and not letting it get out of hand. On the other hand, I don't know, make what you will out of that, I guess. You can kind of see what I mean, though, how it keeps wanting to grow upward no matter what. It's always going to want to grow up, and that will always be the case. And I've seen some tricks on how to deal with that. For now, I'm just doing kind of a clip and grow, and then I'll do some wiring. We'll see how that goes. Make a couple more cuts just to make sure it's going the right direction. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I can go back out on the bench now and grow a little more. And then I just went outside again like 20 minutes ago. So that's today, June 6, 2025. And it's looking good. Look at all that bright growth. Also, it's like noon, so the sun is kind of bright. But still, you can see the difference in growth. I mean, that dark, leggy growth in the winter versus bright, healthy-looking growth in the spring and summer. I'm looking for little stuff like that. Branches that are crisscrossing or growing backwards, growing straight up. I think this one's got a fun future ahead of it. I don't see a lot of Ficus Benjamina done as Cascade style bonsai. It's done. It's not super rare, but I don't see a lot of it. Probably because they are kind of challenging to do that way. But I've got so many Ficus Benjamina, I just try different stuff. I'll keep my eye on that back branch there. But that's where I leave it for now. Let me know what you think. Love it, hate it, indifferent. Let me know if you've got any experience with that, any tips and tricks. on Cascade style with Ficus. Meantime, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have a good rest of your day.